I'll make up for you because I think mine is going to be about 3 minutes. So, hi everybody. I'd first like, as everyone else, to thank Sabina and the EIF to give me the opportunity to contribute to a European political debate, if I may, as it's the first time I do so. And I'm here to share with you the view on portability or access, widened access to content across border, inspired by my professional experience and background, which is fairly and deeply connected to our conversation. And I want to spend some time on it because I'm coming from the business side, and I've spent indeed the latest 25 years centered on consumer, which we haven't yet talked a lot about, and content. I'm a digital native, having operated for digital businesses since year 2000, on the right owner side, as well as for digital distribution platforms, both in France, in the UK, and Germany, so true a European citizen at heart. I'm now an independent consultant, and I'll share with you what I believe is a fairly neutral perspective built around three possible angles: the consumer, the right owner, and the content distributor. I'll start with the consumer, my favorite one. I highly value the intent behind the digital single market ambition, which I respect on most topics. But as far as content portability goes, I have to say I'm still struggling to understand the need to it, especially in the extent I've understood it to be undertaken. I've had the opportunity to analyze in depth the thorough Eurobarometer consumer research to which Agatha was referring earlier on, where I honestly couldn't find any massive evidence for a market failure from a consumer standpoint. And if you allow me to quickly recap some math, we haven't yet drunk too much for that. I first read a figure quoting that for almost 1 in 3 Europeans, it would be important to use their subscription when traveling in another EU country. So I stepped back a bit and took a look at the questionnaire and the math and the answers and the basis of respondents. And I had a somehow different takeout. This quote was actually looking at the Europeans actually not having any paid subscription, which is the actual majority, where when you don't want to pay for a service, you can grab the first reason ever prompted to you. That's one thing not to forget when you run a usage and attitude survey like that, which I've run for 10 years with mass market leaders in Paris and in the UK. And I thought it was also interesting to look at the few paying subscribers. Actually, only 16% of the citizens gathered in this research. But those are the ones which are interesting us. Those are the ones who have an actual usage of content. 9 out of 10 of these guys have never tried it abroad. And out of these, more than half declared no need for it. Yes, 21% said maybe in the future. But when you aggregate those percentages in turn, then it adds up only to 3% of the Europeans. And digging further, why have you never tried? I'm not interested. Or there's enough home and enough choice in my home country. I don't want to say that to look or seem controversial, although I believe that's going to be the end result. But the hard facts, and I always try when I'm faced to a question to step back and understand and see what's the point or is there a problem to address. The hard facts that I've read in this research lead me to believe that from a consumer standpoint, content portability across borders is more a matter addressing a very niche audience, if I may say, than a massive mass market one across Europe. But having said that, that doesn't mean that one shouldn't think about it, because there's still an audience. But let's keep in mind, it's a very small one. And there are some market initiatives I'll share with you later that are pragmatic and workable solutions, workable within the industry to address it, and I'd like to share that with you a bit later. When Agatha, referring back to the research, Agatha was saying that 40% of the people having tried this service abroad experience problem. Let's not forget that this 40% equal 77% of the European people. So moving on from the consumer standpoint, which is my fundamental, I'll now take the two other angles from a right owner and a distributor's viewpoint. My belief is that the ecosystem in place, and I've been living with it for the last 15 years, on the field, on the ground, in the business, I believe that the ecosystem in place is fairly effective. It's based on contractual freedom fundamentals to Europe, I believe, and with the will and the day-to-day will to boost and keep financing, namely EU media creation and visibility. And I insist for a second on this point because I think, and that was one key takeout of the research as well, that one of the matters to address collectively is maybe even more so than content portability is content discoverability and ability to make European creation, first of all, visible and known to the consumers across Europe. I believe there is always room for improvement and collective effort, especially encompassing the impact of digitalization on many instances. As far as content portability is concerned, I'm questioned, though, on the need to undertake a significant array of possible regulation changes, especially under what can be perceived as a very tight time frame, as well as a too wide scope, given, once more, the consumer needs and reality. So to that extent, I have a concrete example to share with you of how the industry, locally actually one based in Germany, did set up, without the need of any regulation change, a feature offering to its users such a possibility to travel with your piece of content. I'm referring to the travel mode created by the SVOD service Watchever, operating in Germany, and I can fairly well talk about it because I was instrumental in that. I was at the time chief content officer for that company, and I negotiated myself the systems in place with the right owners and all the partners, and set up with the technical team the ability for the service to provide such usage. And this usage was the travel mode, which was actually a worldwide first 3 years ago, and it was simply allowing its subscribers, when traveling or being offline, to access their content outside of Germany or traveling within Germany with clear usage rules. It was for up to 30 days, because the reality of travels of European consumers, I think, lucky them if they can take more than 30 days travel within a year, and for a selected number of programs, because when you travel for 30 days, you're lucky too. But when you travel for 30 days, hopefully you travel to visit something and to discover another culture and another country. But take 20 or 25 items and programs, be it movies or episodes, and that's more than enough. And that's the reality of what this service implemented. So maybe, Bernd, had you been a subscriber not to Netflix, but to Watchever, you would have been a fairly more than happy traveler, tourist in Provence, which is a very nice country, and I congratulate you for your choice. And this, to me, is a live example, an option for a pragmatic implementation of content portability across the EU, well orchestrated between all parties involved, the right owner, the distributor, and to the benefit of the end consumer, which is what we are all about, or should be all about. So based on these few consumer insights and some concrete live examples, I feel fairly confident that there are ways to make content portable within the EU and contribute towards building the digital single market. All a matter of scoping the needs right. Thank you.